Happy Wednesday. Welcome back to our monthly Green Building Speaker Series. My name is Brandon Kaysen. I'm the current board president for the Central Coast Green Building Council. We are a regional council which is a part of the larger nonprofit of the U.S. Green Building Council, famous for LEED sites and a whole slew of other educational and building specific offerings to promote sustainability in the built environment. We're so grateful to be partnered with Ventura College School of Architecture, who is hosting this entire year-long speaker series. They've been so kind to give us a space and an opportunity to work with their students and present some of this information to them, as well as the general community. We at the CCGBC really see this model as something that we want to replicate in more communities with different topics, different speakers, and things like that. So we would love to hear your feedback, what you think about Cash Upton tonight or the other videos that you can find on our YouTube. And so I'm so pleased to have Cash here with us representing Brighton Solar. He's definitely a leader in the solar space. He's been working with Brighton for a number of years now. He's also a Central Coast Green Building Council board member. So he today has the hat of Brighton Solar, but in other conversations, he's a partner with the CCGBC. So just want to start this off tonight. A couple ways that you can get involved with the CCGBC with the click of a button. We have two social media accounts, Facebook and Instagram, so you can take a look at those there. Those handles will take you straight to our pages. Understand that our Instagram is relatively new, so we're looking for that participation. You can be one of the first followers of the CCGBC Instagram page. In the modern era, that's definitely the place where people are finding information, so we just want to make sure that we're touching all of our bases. And so jump on board and join us there, shoot us a like, send us a comment, all that fun stuff. We also have a YouTube channel. There's a link here. You can take a picture of that, copy and paste it, but likely easier than doing that would be to type in Central Coast Green Building Council in YouTube. And we're hosting all of our videos similar to tonight's presentation on there. So you can find all the previous Green Building Speaker Series presenters on our YouTube page. We also have our gala from last year and some other information that we will continue to populate. So take a look there, like, subscribe, etc., etc. Join us in on our YouTube page. And other ways that you can get more involved if you want to take that next step, if you want to support the work that we're doing here and the work that we're preparing to do throughout the Central Coast. You can check out our regional councils. We have one in San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, and Ventura County. They meet roughly once a month, and anyone can participate in those regional councils. So if you have a yearning interest for sustainability or just want to know how you can get more involved in your community, maybe you got a great idea and you need an organization to work with to help make that idea come to life. These are where you can bring that information, bring your positive energy and your good ideas. So reach out to Eva, our admin at admin@ccgreenbuilding.org if you want to get involved or get some more information. And if you have the ability to become an annual member, this is really how we make our money. How we can continue to offer these presentations and continue to make an impact in our community. So we have a few different options, whether you're a general chapter member, an emerging professional, or a student, and you can see the various prices there and the link that you can go to become a member today. And that is an annual membership. It comes with a lot of benefits, and I'll get to those on the next slide. But if after today you feel so inspired and you're like, man, this is the career for me, and I just don't know what the next steps are or who I can get in touch with to support me, getting that hand up, getting me connected with the people and the organizations that I need to get connected with. Same email as the regional councils, you can send a note to Eva, and if we have a professional in our network or someone that's connected to our organization that we think we could partner with you to help mentor you to get to that next step, please don't hesitate to reach out. This is something brand new that we're creating, the mentorship program. So it's not well established. You very well could be one of the first mentees of our mentorship program. So just really quick, the CCGBC has a slew of different benefits. Becoming a part of our organization, supporting what we're doing, access to local resources, our newsletter that has all the events, job opportunities, ways to learn more about green building technologies and design and construction operational aspects of sustainability in the built environment, and connecting with other leaders and enhancing your network and your career path. And up next, so this series doesn't end tonight. The next three speakers, we will have Paul Poirier, who's an architect in Santa Barbara. He's also a Central Coast Green Building Council board member. He's going to talk about the 2030 commitment and electrification, which is definitely a big buzzword these days. What does it mean? Lisa Eklund with 3C Ren is going to share some career development strategies and different resources that students can take advantage of. And then after Lisa, we'll have another CCGBC board member, Candace Wong with 10 Over Studios, talking about that public-private interface and how public institutions are pursuing sustainability in their buildings, like fire stations and city halls and places like that. So lastly, just some brief logistics for tonight. Please include any comments or questions, any chatter that you might have in the chat box tonight. We'll facilitate question and answer at the end of the presentation, unless Cash wants to stop somewhere and ask for questions in the middle. So please rest assured your questions won't be ignored. They may just be postponed. And if you will, to keep your mic on mute for us to prevent any background noise. At the end, there very well may be an opportunity to unmute any of the attendees and ask some questions from there. Oh, of course, don't forget to enjoy yourself tonight. Grab a drink, kick your shoes off, throw on some sweats or whatever you need to do. But I hope you do get a lot out of this experience tonight and enjoy Cash's presentation. So I will go ahead and stop sharing and leave space for Cash to jump in.
Good evening, everyone. Cash Upton here. Thanks for joining me on this glorious Wednesday evening. I will start my screen share right now. We look good?
Yes.
Right. So I am the design and sales coordinator for Brighten Solar. We're based up in Santa Barbara, but we do work all the way down into the Ventura area and up into SLO. And like Brandon said, I'm also volunteering on the Central Coast Green Building Council, and it's been really exciting to help be part of this educational series and just spread the word about sustainability. So please do get involved, volunteer with us. We'll be posting some more events coming up. So feel free to ask questions at any time, and if I catch them, I'll answer them as I go. A little intro on me. I was born and raised in Santa Barbara, and that's a picture of my dad and I when I was a little kid. That's some land that has been in the family since the 80s that has a very steep and gnarly dirt road to get to it and is completely off grid. And so we lived up here for about 4 years when I was a kid. Trailers, generator, the loud noise of the generator, and the smell of gasoline, was a very poignant part of my childhood. So I'll tell you a little bit about where I am living now that kind of integrated that living. So I studied political economy up at UC Berkeley with a major in environmental sustainability. And so that's where I really started to see the intertwining between politics and economics and how they have an effect on our natural world as well as our built world. And politics and economics is one of the things making solar so profitable right now. So we'll dive into that a little bit deeper later. I came back from college in 2010 and was the environmental coordinator for the West Beach Music and Arts Festival, which was a really cool festival on the beach. So we earned the Greener Festival Award by doing a really holistic approach to sustainability. And then since about 2010 or 11, I've been converting a shipping container on the off-grid home of my family, and put solar on it, and wanted it to be a very sustainable place without the trailers rattling and the smell of gasoline and generators. So jump ahead real quick. That's the off-grid shipping container home. It's still a little bit of a dream in the making. You can see here the awning over the porch is my solar panels. Right on there is the 27 panels I got. It's a micro array, so it's only about 300 watts, really just powering lights. I have Wi-Fi and a little fridge going. Charge my computer, run a monitor, just the bare necessities of what I need. These panels are upcycled from Caltrans call boxes. My neighbor was a bit of one of those auction guys that would go and buy up a whole shipping container of stuff. So my dad bought 200 or 300 solar panels off my neighbor, and I still have some. So if you want some free tiny solar panels, let me know after, and I'm trying to give them away. Or work with some high schools to have environmental science students, work with them and tinker with them. So let me know if you want them. This array is just using a 1,000-watt inverter, but really what it showed me was the tangibility of solar. It was always a little ethereal to me. I'm good at science, but I don't have a science background. So I had an electrical engineering friend that helped me to do the wiring, put in the safety fuses, and design the system. So it was a really cool way to see that solar can be taken almost anywhere, and I really fell in love with it. After the music festival, I went on the road for an herbal coffee company, Ticino, based down in Carp and Ventura, actually. And then I actually moved up to San Luis Obispo, and I was the project manager for Discovery Bowling Alley, which I think some of you might remember. There was a Ventura location as well. So I was helping build this San Luis Obispo location, and unfortunately it hit some seismic upgrade prohibitions that made it stop in the build of it. But what that showed me was really a holistic approach to taking on a big project and really refocusing my desire to want to help the built environment become more sustainable. So after I came back from SLO, I was doing some part-time electrical work, and a friend working at Brighten Solar suggested that I apply for an installer position. And that was a really cool opportunity because I got to be in on the very beginning stages of an installation and see how an actual permitted full-scale solar installation works with all the modern equipment. So I did that for about 3 months on the install side, and then got moved into the design and sales side right in the nick of time, because it was getting really hot. About June on the roof is not fun. I'm not the most salesy kind of guy, but solar sells itself. It's essentially free energy coming from the sun every day. So it's a really cool, it feels, almost like magic. I mean, it's literally some of the most incredible technology that I've really fallen in love with. Little overview on Brighten Solar, local Santa Barbara company, been around for about 6 years. What really drew me to them was our partnerships with local nonprofits. So we work with the Community Environmental Council for their Solarize program, which is to bring discounted solar to the community and help make solar more affordable. And then we're partnered with the Environmental Defense Center as well. We go to local science nights at elementary schools and get, 4th and 5th grade students really stoked on solar, which has been something that I love. I went back to my elementary school in Santa Barbara like 2 years ago, and it was a really cool kind of full circle experience. Currently, right now, we're donating our labor and permitting expertise to a local nonprofit called Hope Refuge, which is really near and dear to my heart. They're doing really great work with women who are victims of sex trafficking and abuse, and they're up by the Refugio area. So we have a really awesome partner as a distributor, solar tech distributor, CED Green Tech, based out of Ventura. It's a national company, but Ventura is the most local office, and they're great. They worked with us to get involved with the inverter manufacturer and the racking, and we have about $6,000 or $7,000 worth of materials donated from the manufacturer for this project. So that's something that's just really near and dear to my heart, and helps make it a really worthy effort to keep going at the grind. Just have one or two commercial installations that we've done just to give you an idea of some of the size. We installed on the Decker's headquarters in Goleta, which is close to a 400 kilowatt array, which is one of the largest in the Central Coast. And it's the equivalent of about 460 metric tons of CO2 per year offset. So that was a really cool project to have under our belt. And then the Santa Barbara Airbus as well went solar, slightly smaller, 41 kilowatts, but still a really cool initiative to see local corporations not only reducing their economic cost of energy, which as we all know is skyrocketing right now, but they're doing the right thing for the environment. We will jump into a typical day in the life. There's a really great method that we try to follow called the consultative cells approach. So it's great to, I forgot to mention that I love that you guys are all architecture students. I was excited when I found out that was who I was going to be talking to. But really it's about the customer, right? So as you know, you're going to be talking to them about, first educating them if there's any knowledge gaps that's going to help with the process, and then really what is the customer's best interest, and seeing the perspective of the customer, and truth. It's very important to be as transparent as possible upfront. Unfortunately, there are some predatory solar folks out there. The gag, go solar at no cost, or there's always a cost of something. So it's good to just look at things from every angle. The design software that I use is called Aurora. It's a really cool software that uses LiDAR, like radar for light. So it can get a really accurate view of the solar access and annual production that the panels will create. It has all of the utilities rates uploaded, so it really knows what the customer is going to be spending tomorrow for electricity and what the customer would be spending 10 years from now. Obviously estimate it on escalators. And then what I'll do is I'll calculate the return on the investment and the savings that the customer is going to get based on the federal tax credit, and then the annual savings from Edison with the avoided cost of electricity, and calculate that return on investment and payback period. So the customer has an idea, they could be putting 20 grand into the stock market, but instead they're putting 20 grand into solar, and that's what's really cool, because they can see that it actually has very comparable ROI compared to stock market. If not, I'd say even better, because the sun is fairly consistent in our area, and gives for a better return than most stocks. So, and then I'll hand off to the projects team. They'll do the install. I'll visit if it's a long multi-day install. I'll visit, make sure everything's going smooth, and then we'll go and celebrate with the customer, turn it on, and really get to see the smile on people's faces. So that's always a nice thing. This right here is a screenshot from Aurora, the design software I use. You can see the LiDAR from all the nearby trees and the buildings. So it's a really cool way to have a really detailed analysis of just what the power output will be of the array. This here, just going to take a minute or two to show you what it looks like from a customer's perspective when we send off a proposal. This here is a pretty large home for a Montecito home, but it's we're going to be offsetting about 50% of their usage. And right here, you can already see the cost of doing nothing for this customer is upwards of 300 grand. So solar is an incredible investment for them. Right here, we talk about the upfront gross investment. For this client, it was 56K. The net investment is after the federal tax credit, which is a 26% federal tax credit right now. It's on electrical work and roofing work associated with solar. And it's also applicable for batteries that are integrated into a solar array. On the right here, you can see that the rate of return for this customer is 24% with a payback period of 4.5 years. So it's incredible, better than most stocks on the market. And that's why, solar really has been such a, really a game changer right now. And the industry itself really is exploding. Here is a SketchUp based off of the customer's roof plan. Since it's new construction, I don't have the LiDAR and the already made Aurora image of the roof. So I overlaid the panels in SketchUp. You can see on the ridges, we have 18 inches of setbacks. And then on some of the edges, we have to be 3 feet away. So that's just based on CAL FIRE setbacks. And this is maybe 10% of my work is new construction, where an architect will give me a plan of the roof, and I'll get a load list and a list of what their big ticket energy items are going to be, the square footage of the home, and we'll be able to estimate the usage based on that. A little bit more on the production. We can skip through that a little bit. Here's a little bit of a bill analysis. This solar array is going to do about 50% offset of the bill. What's interesting here is the electric bill savings. The cost of electricity is going up substantially. 3 to 5% a year is the conservative look at it, but there are some wild cards out there with not necessarily Edison, but PG&E and some other bankruptcy stuff. So solar is a good way for our customers to insulate themselves from any additional price hikes and higher rates that they might be paying. And then here's just an example of the cash flow. You can see the initial investment, the tax credit, and then the year-over-year savings. So, $9,000 saved in the first year. But after 20 years, that's closer to $16,000 or $17,000 a year. So it just goes to show that escalator with the electricity cost does have a pretty big effect at the end of the day. This here's a American-Canadian solar panel called Silfab. One of the reasons why I like them a lot is that they don't break the bank, and they keep the project price at a pretty conservative level while still having a fantastic 25 and 30-year warranty, right around 20% module efficiency, which is pretty high for the industry. I think the highest right now is around 22%. So 20 is pretty high. And then the last thing that I think you students will love is the aesthetic aspect of a full black panel. There's still little tiny bus bars on them, but it doesn't have those white grid lines. It doesn't have a silver frame. It really adds to an architectural element of the home. And then here is a SolarEdge inverter. The SolarEdge is paired with a power optimizer. So every single solar panel has a power optimizer, which does maximum power point tracking. So it helps to make the highest voltage possible coming out of the panel and having it come out of each panel. Whereas a string inverter in the past with just one inverter, no power optimizers, different panels, if they had shade on them, could bring down the production of the other panels. So power optimizers, which are right here, kind of get around that. and they allow each individual panel to be performing optimally. And then right down here, you can see it comes with an app. So on the smartphone, you can see what each individual panel is producing, which is really good. 10 years from now, we can look and see if one panel is 20% less on average than every other panel. It helps us to really do a warranty claim and be able to keep all the equipment in good working order. On the other side of things, like I mentioned, I'm volunteering on the Central Coast Green Building Council board, but I'm also helping out with the AIA Santa Barbara Architect Tour. I'm the chair of this year's tour. So we're going to be doing a virtual tour this year because of COVID, but it's going to be really kind of poignant for what every one of you guys are designing. It's going to be going above and beyond Title 24, designs that really blow people away, have good work, live spaces, meet housing needs. So it's kind of an all-encompassing, like, hey, what do you have that's solving a current issue? We'll show it to us and let us see the project. So it closes registration at the end of April. And the tour itself is going to be in October. So I'll share the info with Ralph as it gets a little closer and make sure that all of you have information on it. And if you want to volunteer, great, or just participate as one of the virtual attendees. It should be great. This here is one of our favorite installations of Brighten Solar. It's on Anacapa Design Studios, local architecture firm, and you can see here the railing is made of translucent solar panels. So they are losing maybe 30% or so being tilted fully vertical like that, but from a design element, they're incredible. So it's a really, really fun install that we did. One of our general contractors mentioned on site one time, no problems, only solutions. So that's been kind of a mantra for this year, especially with COVID. We've loved kind of being that key to designers and architects and GCs who know they need solar now because of the new Title 24 requirements, but they maybe haven't worked with it too much. So we really try to be a resource and find out how to fix the piece of the puzzle that's broken and make a solution. It's also pretty great getting outside and climbing on roofs. I love that aspect of my job. Most every home I get on in our area, I get either a mountain or an ocean view. So it's pretty spectacular. I am a rock climber, so I do love it. And it's been a good way to be able to make money without feeling the quote unquote blood on my hands. There's a lot of industries out there that are destroying the world, and I'm really happy to see all of you here in this series to learn how to make more sustainable design, because that's really what it's all about, designing for the future and longevity. So I'm really excited to be talking to a class of you all. And then one other thing to keep in mind is our customers are making the most profit, which is really cool. We are providing a service, but at the end of the day, our customers are usually making 4, 5, 10 times as much as we are on the project, which is really incredible. So it's a really cool synergetic kind of, hey, let's work together to help save money for everyone. Little look into the solar industry. Some of the tools I work with, there's this device called the Sun Eye, which takes a 360 fisheye view and overlays the path of the sun. And it can tell you throughout the year how much percentage loss you will have due to shading. So it's a handheld device that kind of acts as the precursor to the Aurora design software I mentioned. LiDAR kind of makes it so we don't need that as much anymore, but it's something that we take on site if we're going to a more rural area, because LiDAR is not available in every neighborhood right now. I mentioned the solar design software Aurora, and then Excel and PowerPoint are kind of the only other two. We have a CRM, customer resource as well, to manage our leads. And then it's really just minimal construction tools on my end, tape measure, screwdriver, impact drill. When I was working on install, we have a saw, we're doing drilling, but the joke in the solar industry is that we're just kind of glorified roofers. And that is a lot of what we're doing. We're making sure the roof doesn't leak, and we're fixing something to the structure of the roof. The beauty of solar now is, there is obviously design elements and electrical safety requirements that go into every install, but a lot of it is plug and play. Once you have those few pieces in place, the system kind of puts itself together in a lot of ways. Especially with some of the racking manufacturers out there now. Our racking has a 25-year warranty on it. I'll go to a site visit from not a customer, but someone who has gotten solar installed like 15 years ago, and they have wooden blocks and unistrut attaching the solar to the roof, which is just not very PC. So it's really come leaps and bounds in terms of the way that it's all integrated together. Salary for installers is going to start at $18 an hour and go up from there. Our lead installers are making close to $40 an hour right now. That takes into account they have benefits. All of our installers are full-time employees, and that's something that I really commend my bosses for providing dental and vision benefits, and also a matching retirement account. So they've really done right to help make solar a job that we can all be at for a while. And then sales is going to be variable. Most of it's commission based. Some sales positions have a little bit of a base salary and then commission on top of that. And you're probably looking at 2 to 7% commission usually, kind of depending on the project size and how the lead was gotten, and kind of that relationship right there. If you are looking to learn a bit more about solar, there are some Ventura College courses right in front of you that could be a really good fit. Introduction to Electrical Systems. There's an electrical code class, and then a California Green Building Code. And then another program that I'm really excited about that we were just talking with about 2 weeks ago is the Moorpark College Solar Tech program. And they have an Introduction to Photovoltaics course. This course is giving, there's 2 courses in the program. It's an Intro to Photovoltaics, ESM 901, and then an OSHA construction safety course. So that really is a good intro to being safe on the job site, and knowing kind of how to get your hands dirty without causing anyone danger. The awesome thing about this course is it includes a free NAPCEP exam at the end of it, which I think is about a $200 value if you wanted to sign up for the exam on your own. And then Moorpark College is also starting the infancy stages of a solar internship. So they'd be working with companies like Brighton and other local companies to have an intern to have 60, 75 hours in the field. NAPCEP stands for North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. And I have a little chart here. Don't let it make your eyes go too blurry. But essentially, the PV associate credential has aspects ranging from installer to design specialist to system inspection or certification, technical sales, and then commissioning and maintenance as well. So it's a really great program to kind of further build on your knowledge, and just have a certification that you can take anywhere with you, and it's recognized nationally. A little bit more, just to, if you are interested in getting on a roof, any construction experience at all helps getting into the solar industry. Like I said, just knowing how to use a drill and tape measure and being a little handy will get you there. And then we teach you how we do the install, because every company is going to use a little bit different racking, a little bit different methodology. So there isn't a lot of knowledge that you need beforehand. A little introduction to electricity doesn't hurt. But again, you don't have to do that side of the install to start. You can be on the roof doing the attachments and the physical connections and stuff. Environmentally focused helps, having the kind of the same mindset, company culture of is always a good fit. And then there's some really great volunteer opportunities out there. Specifically, Grid Alternatives does some really cool volunteering opportunities to install solar and give affordable solar to more low-income communities. Typically, in the career path, install or admin is a good place to start. I talked about install a bit, but the admin side of things, you're going to be answering the phone, you're going to be answering questions and kind of helping the project management team with permitting and customer expectations. So it's a good way to learn about how we do things without, necessarily having to be on a roof. And then either moving into design and sales or project management or a higher admin position. There's definitely some cool remote opportunities too if you're doing project management for some bigger projects. So especially with the COVID era zooming, there's you don't have to be on a roof all the time to be in the solar industry. Jumping next, we have a little bit on the economics of it. Really cool, within the last 2 years, the price of solar electricity has dropped below coal. We can all give a little round of applause for that. Really exciting. Sometimes half as expensive as coal, which is just incredible. It really is here to stay for the long haul. And most residential systems are going to pay for themselves in less than 10 years. The project I showed you had a less than 5-year payback period just because of the cost and the amount of energy, but usually 7 to 10 years for a single family home. Equipment that we talked about, inverter with power optimizers versus microinverters. The microinverter is kind of a hybrid option of both of those because it independently controls each module as a power optimizer would, but it's inverting from DC to AC right at the module level. So that has a few benefits. You could go down a rabbit hole for days on power optimizers versus microinverters. They both have good functionality. We mostly are using power optimizers in a single inverter, and that's just because of some of the voltage output that the panels can offer. And then it's a little bit of solar in California. Solar is not equal everywhere. Not every state has the same policies that allow for the financial side of solar to be so enticing as it is in California here. Our net energy metering laws are what allow you to feed excess solar into the grid during the day and then be able to use against that credit at nighttime. And not every state has this. So that is really one thing where if you didn't have net energy metering, you would need a battery to then use that energy at nighttime and not pay more money to the grid. One other thing is California has a law called rapid shutdown, and it's to protect our first responders and workers, Edison workers. And essentially when the power gets cut from the grid from Edison at any time, or the meter gets disconnected, the solar panels have to shut down at the module level. And the reason for that is so that they're not backfeeding electricity into an open grid where a worker could ostensibly get electrocuted when they're trying to repair a down power line. And also so a firefighter, if they're trying to cut a hole in the roof, they're not hitting a conduit with solar electricity. So power optimizers and microinverters allow for that rapid shutdown at the module level, whereas normally you would have to have the shutdown at the inverter or at the meter. So that's one thing that it gets a few customers annoyed because they can't have electricity during the day when the power goes out, but it's for a safety standpoint, and it really is necessary. Time of use rates are something that Edison is transitioning everyone over to. So right now you're on a tiered system where if you go above this certain amount of electricity per month, they bump you up to a higher cost per kilowatt hour. There's transitioning so that it's based on the time of day that you use electricity. So most often you're going to be on the rate of 4 to 9 p.m. being the peak pricing. So it's around 40 to 41 cents a kilowatt hour from 4 to 9 p.m. One reason for that is to help alleviate the stress on the grid. So, everyone's getting home from work at 5, making dinner, doing laundry. So they want to encourage people to not use as much electricity at that point when the sun's going down and they have to rely more on peaker power plants and gas power in order to meet those demands. And then one other aspect of solar in California is the new Title 24 requirements, which I'm sure as architecture students, you've all been familiar with that a little bit. Essentially, new construction must include solar. There are some caveats. There's some exceptions. The stories tall, if they're over three stories or more, it's exempt. And then there's some shading concerns. Obviously, if your roof is incredibly shady, they're not going to make you put solar on it. But you have to offset that with other prescriptive methods. So that's a way that, the state of California has been a lot more aggressive on getting solar on more rooftops. We already talked about microinverters. We'll go into a little bit. Well, actually, before we jump into equipment stuff, does anyone have any pertinent questions right now on anything that we just talked about? Cool. All right. So one really cool piece of equipment that we've used a few times but can't use in every jurisdiction is an earth anchor. So this is for a ground mounted solar array. And instead of doing, 4 feet deep by 2 feet wide cement pylons, we're able to use these, 4 foot long screws that are about 2 or 3 inches in diameter. So a really cool way to kind of cut down on the carbon footprint of the install. Unfortunately, a lot of jurisdictions are pushing back against these, so we can't use them on every project, but they're a cool way to kind of think about, how to minimize resources and impact on projects. So really cool technology company based in Goleta here called Next Energy, and they're making photovoltaic windows. Which is really cool application for skyscrapers, probably not on your single family home with a few windows, but for large buildings like this, it's going to be a game changer. The modules vary between 7 and 10% efficiency based on the opacity of the glass. So it's down at 7 when it's more opaque, and then 10% is the highest it gets when I think it does 50% opaqueness. So that's a really cool company, and they're based here in Goleta, which is awesome. Another thing that everyone's all talking about in the industry is solar roof tiles by Tesla, which has its pros and cons. When a customer is having to do a whole re-roof on an existing home, it can have a lot of benefits because this is acting as a roof membrane, or not, as the sun protector. Not every panel is an actual photovoltaic panel. Some of them are fake roof slates. And one of the downsides is just the hundreds of points of connection that you get on this. Instead of just having 20 solar panels with points of failure, you have hundreds. So that's kind of where we're hoping that it keeps progressing, but it's a really cool technology, and it's helping make solar sexy, which we all love as design enthusiasts. We are going to hop in to the battery side of things now. This here is a really beautiful installation that we did for the Sonnen battery. They're floating, which we don't do often. This was our first time doing it. This battery is the top tier model of the Sonnen. So they have about 3 different battery models. This one's called the Eco Links. What's really cool about the Eco Links is it integrates with home automation systems. So Questron, Lutron, all that automated home energy can now be included into the battery side of things. So this battery has smart weather forecasting technology. It knows if it's going to be a really hot day, it'll get the AC cranking early when the sun's out, but it's not too hot yet. It gets weather alerts for fire dangers and possible power shutoffs. And then it also has it's a smart breaker panel. So each of the breakers that are being powered during the outage in the backup sub panel is able to be controlled remotely on your phone app, which is really incredible. You know, if you're out of town for 2 weeks and there's a power outage because of a fire, you might want to, change the temperature, have it be a little bit more stable, and know that stuff's not going to go bad in the fridge or the freezer because something is hogging electricity. So this is a really incredible product, but again, it is a $50,000 install. This here was probably a $100,000 install. Versus just a standard sewn-in battery, their more baseline model that they're looking to compete with Tesla Powerwalls on. That battery's coming in closer to 20K. There's a little bit of power restrictions in terms of the power output of the internal charge controller and inverter. Their base model doesn't have smart breakers. It doesn't have smart weather forecasting. But one cool thing that all of the sewn-in batteries have, because they're all smart batteries, they have time of use mitigation or time of use arbitrage. So we can program the battery to say, hey, provide power to the house from the battery during 4 to 9 p.m. when we know that the energy prices from Edison are going to be the most expensive. So the battery will charge during the day off of free solar electricity and then be powering the home during that peak pricing. And we can tell the battery, by the way, don't ever go below 50% of your capacity in case there is an unexpected power outage at midnight. So there's some really cool technologies coming out there. That being said, as an environmentalist, batteries are not the most friendly on the environment. So as a good salesperson, I try to talk my customers out of a battery whenever possible and have them play the patience game. Batteries are only getting more affordable, more power output, more capacity, and friendlier on the environment. So we'll go into those a little bit in a second too, but it's always good to, if you have a customer who can wait, then they have a lot of financial and kind of technical benefits to waiting. This here is a little diagram on what happens during a power outage. Right here on the right, we have the grid and the meter coming in to the main electrical panel, and then coming over here to the battery. Don't worry about that X right now. The battery actually acts as the physical connection between the main electrical panel and the solar inverter, and this right here is the backup sub panel with critical backup loads. Because like I was saying, the current batteries don't have the power output to do a whole home backup. So we're picking a dozen loads, kitchen, fridge, lights, Wi-Fi, TV, charging cell phones, maybe some lights. And we're putting that into a dedicated sub panel. And then in the event of a power outage, the battery right here has an automatic transfer switch. And when it senses that the grid power goes out, it's going to cut the connection here to the main electrical panel. So like your HVAC equipment's going to stop working, your pool pump's going to stop working. We're not going to be heating the jacuzzi anymore. But the battery here is still going to be connected to the backup sub panel, which has the solar feeding it and then powering the critical loads of the house. So this is an AC coupled battery. There are DC coupled batteries out there where you're charging directly off the solar and you're bypassing the solar inverter. But the efficiency gains there are pretty minimal, like half an efficiency point. So it's nothing that is really, breaking the design. And AC coupled batteries just have more application in the future. You can install solar now and then put in an AC coupled battery later. So that's some of the benefits of why we chose to go with the AC coupled battery. This is a pretty cool experiment done on different chemistries of batteries. Not all chemistries are the same. So it's really important to check out what the chemistry of the battery is. We at Brighton chose to not install any batteries with cobalt. So that will be the Powerwall, the LG Chem, and the Panasonic Pika. And there's a few reasons. We'll go into those right now. The first is just the degradation of the cobalt. It's a nickel manganese cobalt lithium ion. So you can see right down here, this is the chemistry that degrades the quickest in terms of the state of health and the cycles. And we're not even to 5,000 cycles yet. So there's some benefits to paying a little extra for a battery like the Sonnen, which is more expensive than the Tesla Powerwall. But again, if it can last 3 or 4 times longer, then it's going to be worth it. A second reason is that cobalt is one of the worst ethically mined minerals on the planet. Oftentimes by children, 50% or more is coming out of the Congo, and it's a bad industry that has some people trying to make it responsible, but you can't guarantee the cobalt is from that responsible mining. So we chose to just nix it completely. The other reason is they're not as safe compared to the lithium iron phosphate. And then there's also a business model application of it, where if the battery is almost free, it's because you're the product, essentially. There's some applications where Tesla can sell essentially grid storage to utilities. So there is potentially some fine print in your contract with the Tesla battery saying, by the way, if we need to, we can give you some of your battery power to the grid without you having control over it. So that's something to just keep in mind. We're gonna skip through this slide pretty quickly just because we're running a little short on time, but a little overview of the different battery manufacturers and their chemistry, and then some of the safety concerns. And really, the mining of the cobalt, but the thermal runaway is one of the most worst aspect of it. And I just got a pretty cool video here that we gotta play for y'all. It's in German, so we can mute it. Essentially what they're doing is they're drilling into lithium iron phosphate battery. I'm sorry, I had this set up. I promise I am a millennial. And then they're showing what it is when it's going into, sorry about that. All right, doesn't want to work. I can send the link out later. Essentially, it's drilling into a lithium iron phosphate battery and it's just making a little bit of gas. It's getting up to 400 degrees. It's fine. It punctures the nickel manganese cobalt battery and immediately just bursts into flames, and the entire battery is in fire. So being in a environment like Ventura and Santa Barbara, where we have a lot of fires, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to put a bomb in your garage. So that's why one of the bigger reasons too, just from the safety standpoint. We're gonna switch battery gears and talk a little bit about physical storage, which is just something that's really cool. We were just talking about chemical storage. There's this really cool company called Energyvault, and their director of sustainability is actually on the Central Coast Green Building Council board, Mr. Michael Van Perry's. And they are doing really cool work to essentially use abundant renewable energies to lift up these 500-ton blocks and then use gravity to generate electricity as they fall down. So it's essentially using the idea of like a hydroelectric dam, but instead of water as the mobile agent, it's using gravity. So this is a really cool company. They're making the blocks out of recycled materials and like wind turbine blades. So just a really cool application of recycled materials into an application that, you know, essentially this could be making all the gravity energy at nighttime when the sun's not out. So a really cool company, and one of their sustainability directors is on our board. So jumping ahead real quick now, the last little want to touch on before we jump into questions is just kind of the environmental justice side of solar and nonprofit solar outfits out there. So I mentioned Grid Alternatives earlier in the presentation, and they're based out of Oakland, but they have regional offices all over the country. And they do really good stuff in bringing affordable and renewable energy to communities affected by economic and environmental injustices. So I just got involved with them right before COVID, and I was about to go volunteer, and then COVID hit, and they don't have any in-person volunteers right now. So I'm still looking for my first rooftop volunteer solar to jump on. And if we get something on the books, I'll send something to Ralph, and if anyone wants to come and get on a roof for a weekend, it'll be a real cool install. One of my favorite solar nonprofits out there is the Honnold Foundation. I don't know if most of you have probably heard of Alex Honnold, the most impressive athlete to ever exist, I think, is not up for debate. I mean, what he did is incredible, going up El Cap without a rope. And he took his fame and he started a solar nonprofit. And the Honnold Foundation has been around for 4 or 5 years now, and they're doing incredible work. They introduced the Community Fund last year, where they're doing solar energy grants for Black, Indigenous, and people of color-led nonprofits in the most polluted parts of the United States. So a really cool initiative to really give more resource to the communities that are most affected by pollution. The Honnold Foundation is partnered with Grid Alternatives, so they actually do a lot of work with Grid Alternatives as kind of a collaboration. The truck company Relion is donating 1 megawatt, 1 million watts of battery storage to a Puerto Rico community called Casa Pueblo. There was $1 million in funds awarded in 2020, 32 communities reached, and 17 partners across 13 countries and territories. So really cool work. I'm talking with Brandon about maybe trying to get their executive director to be part of one of the series, or to just give another presentation with the Green Building Council. So keep everyone in the loop on that. And then here's a cool picture of a rooftop Casa Pueblo in Puerto Rico that the Honnold Foundation installed. So again, really cool that they're bringing a level of autonomy and reliability to a community that has been really hit hard by energy losses and an infrastructure that really wasn't working for it. So there's some really cool microgrid opportunities out there. There is some really great looks into microgrids on schools in our area, as well as other kind of fire stations and other points of critical infrastructure where there's some opportunity to have some really cool safety and community opportunities, as well as providing solar and equitable stuff. That is the conclusion of my aspect of it before we jump in with you guys. First of all, though, I really want to thank each and every one of you for spending your Wednesday evening listening to me and learning more. I think it's awesome that you're expanding your knowledge and you want to bring a sustainability aspect to architecture and design. I think that's incredible. And I'm really on board with the meshing of function and form and where they come together. Thank you to the Central Coast Green Building Council too for hosting the series. And again, to the Ventura College School of Architecture. Thanks, Ralph. Really appreciate your time and helping put this on.